Welcome, family, back to Journee Continues Podcast. Our last episode, we had a young lady on named LaShayla, and she discussed her barriers with substance use disorder, and she also discussed where she's at now and where she looks forward to going. Today, we have a young lady named Nikia, and she's going to educate us on understanding HIV. She's an HIV specialist, um, and we want to hear from her the expertise of what she has to say.
Thank you.
So,
hmm
to begin, can you explain what HIV is and how it differs from AIDS?
I surely can, but first, Chunnika or Nika. Didn't mean no one.
No, you're good. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
much.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
Chunnika or Nika.
Or Nika for sure.
Okay.
Yes, but the difference between there's no really difference. AIDS is a symptom of HIV, of the virus that's an advanced form of HIV. HIV starts out first, and then when you're untreated, not in care, then it can advance to AIDS without treatment.
Okay.
And we call that now advanced HIV. There's no more. It's never been a term blown up or anything like that because we're not balloons.
Right.
Diagnosis is not a balloon, so we don't blow up. So when some people say full blown AIDS, that's a misdiagnosis. That's a misconception
Okay.
of the language that's being harmfully used.
Okay.
So what we now say is advanced HIV,
Okay.
and that's where we go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. What are the primary ways HIV is transmitted, and what are some persistent myths that people should stop believing?
In my world, in my experience, there are three behaviors that can lead to the outcome of contracting HIV. One is through unprotected sex, anal, vaginal, or oral. Second one is injection drug use, sharing needles, or not clean needles, clean works, things like that, and not getting tested in between. And mother-to-child transmission, kids that are born with HIV do no fault to their own due to the lack of access or the mother's knowledge of where to go to get tested, or the reasons for her getting tested during pregnancy or before pregnancy.
Okay. Just to jump in, let's say that the mother has HIV, right? Is there medications they can give to her while she's pregnant, and would the unborn child get HIV?
Yes, there's medicine called heart medication, highly active anti-retroviral therapy medicine. So the quality heart was given to the woman, the female, in the second trimester.
Okay.
Because it's proven in studies that it's not harmful to the baby in that time frame. But prior to then, most women that do find out their diagnosis through pregnancy, they are in their second trimester. So it's a matter of barriers or missed opportunities for providers to get that diagnosis and educate people on PrEP or PEP in those matters.
Okay, thank you. How effective are prevention tools, like you just now said, PrEP and PEP, and who should consider them?
I would say anybody that is currently engaging in unprotected sex, regardless of how many people you have, how many partners you have, or the reasons that you make, because we're trying to remove from negative language. And risk makes people feel ashamed, so we're trying to use reasons, even though some may see it as a cop out. But no, risk. Everybody has a reason, as to why they engage in the type of sex they like. I'm learning to not yuck no one's yum. Okay. That's what we've been taught in the field. What you do is what you do, just as long as you're protected and informed. But the best method, PrEP, is what I consider the birth control pill for HIV in simple terms.
Okay.
And PEP is the Plan B pill for those who are been exposed to rape, incest, sexual assault, exposure through needle pokes at work, and things like that.
Okay, sounds good. So I just want to back up just in case our audience don't know what PrEP is.
Yes.
Could you tell them what's the acronym?
PrEP is pre-exposure prophylaxis.
And then for PEP?
It's post-exposure prophylaxis.
Thank you so much.
No problem. I get caught up in the acronym world.
No,
we
me too,
work
me too, girl. Me too. I was like, wait a minute. Maybe someone don't know what that is. Let me have her tell what it is, right?
Yes. And like I say, it's easy to get. It's just a matter about where to go to access. And if you are comfortable having those conversations, especially when it comes to PrEP, PrEP with your provider.
Okay.
And you won't believe what's the percentage of people who do not know about PrEP or think PrEP does not fit them or just have their own misconceptions what PrEP and what it's surrounded for.
So PrEP is was that pre-exposure, and then PEP is exposure. You already been exposed. You think you've been exposed, yes. or you have been exposed. Okay, sounds good. So we can know what the difference is. So PrEP is pre-exposure, and then PEP
is post-exposure. Like I say, the PrEP is like the birth control pill of HIV. PEP can be the equivalent of the Plan B pill. For, but it has to be done within 72 hours. That's why I say it's like the, Plan B pill.
Okay.
I mean, just to give it in simple terms.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, what advice do you have regarding regular testing? How often should someone get tested, and where can they go locally?
So, one, if you are having unprotected sex, regardless of how many partners, but if you are with one partner, have those conversations with you and your partner. I know them conversations can be kind of hard, but we have to have those candid conversations. But now the scene is, let me see your my chart. So how that's the new language with
Girl,
these kids.
I like it. Let me see your my chart.
That's what the new language is. That's what was something that my children taught me. So they was like, let me see what that my chart look like. So if you walk them, can comfortable enough to say that, or just have open conversations about what's their knowledge surrounding their knowledge and beliefs surrounding HIV testing. I think that goes a long way, and you can start from there.
Okay.
And the second part of your question, can you repeat it?
Yes, ma'am. So, where can they go locally?
They can either go locally to your city health department right there at 400 Mac and get tested, and there is a place on 50 East Canfield where you can get tested, but you can also look on the City of Detroit website, health department, and find local testing and providers for PrEP and knowledge and all of that good stuff.
Okay, sounds good. And then what we're going to do is in the comments section, we're going to have all this information listed. Also, we're going to have Chunnika's contact information.
Yes.
Did I say your name correctly?
Yes, you did.
My girl. All right.
All
the
right.
girl doing okay. Good. So our next question. Many have heard the phrase undetectable equal untransmittable. Girl, I get confused with that. I'd be like, what is that? Do I have it? Can you break down what this means in simple terms, please and thank you?
Okay, so in simple terms, when they say you equals you, that means someone who is undetectable, which means you have to have less than 20 copies for at least 6 months to a year.
Okay.
That means you being on treatment and you're in care. Once that, you can be confirmed that you're being undetectable for at least 6 months, and some people only go to the doctor twice a year. So they really can't confirm it until their second test.
So I have a question before you go on. So undetectable means that you do have it?
Yes, okay. So
okay, yeah, I'm sorry, because I'm like, wait a minute.
Undetectable is like the amount of virus that's in your blood.
Okay, so you already been tested, you already been said that I have HIV and I'm undetected, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
And again, you're being confirmed. Thank you for clarifying that. So that's what that means in itself. So undetectable means the virus or the amount of virus in your blood is so low that it cannot be detected on a normal test.
Okay.
And untransmittable means when you are in that stage and it's been confirmed, you can have condomless sex with somebody that either both of y'all are at the same levels, or you can have it with someone who is HIV negative. As long as you share that information. Okay. Because there are laws surrounding HIV and disclosure.
And so for the untransmittable, that means that they've been taking their medications and it's just not showing up in their system. And they must share with their partner. Look, I have been tested HIV positive. However, it's not showing up in my blood.
Yep, and that's where the discord and the content comes in at, because some people look at it as a moral, some looks at it as a moral obligation. Right. Due to their own beliefs and when it comes to sexuality. So I think that's up to the person, but each person that's engaging in unprotected sex, you are responsible for your own sexual health and your risk. Okay. So it's like we say in our field, or the field that I used to be in, which was patient care technician. When people come in, you treat everybody as if they've been exposure or they have something. That's right, yes. Especially when it comes to being exposure to blood liquid, blood, things like that. You have to treat everything the same. Okay. So you look at it from that way. I'm taking the risk of already engaging in unprotected sex with you. So do I have the conscious enough, regardless if I could be in some understands in the moments where you are under the influence. But at what point are you going to say, hey, before, because you know you're going to engage in some kind of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say there's nothing wrong with carrying a condom in your wallet, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Mm-hmm. And men.
And men.
Y'all better have a condom. Okay?
And men.
Ain't playing with you.
Yeah, but I want women to start taking more ownership of their, hey, no glove, no love.
There we go. I like that. No glove, no
and there's
love.
nothing wrong with saying that, but we do have our needs, but we have to be conscious of our own reasons as to what put us in those situations to acquire HIV.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, what treatment options are available for people living with HIV today, and how has care improved over the years?
I would say care has improved over the years, given that I watched my uncle die from complications of HIV. He used to be on, I would say, almost 30 pills a day. And at the time of my diagnosis, we were only at 1 pill a day.
Wow.
Well, 1 pill twice a day. But now they have it where it's 1 pill once a day.
Okay.
And now they have at the point where they have injections. So you can take a shot once a month now.
Wow. That has really changed because I had 2 uncles who died from, they had HIV, but then it turned into AIDS, and they had to take a lot of pills. Wow.
Yes.
That's a huge difference, right?
A huge difference.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. For individuals, let me back up because what treatment options?
Treatment options.
Are available.
So you, like I said, I mentioned those, the 1 pill a day treatment options, and then you have the injectable.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure. Okay,
the Cabenuva shot.
Okay.
And with those, you have those 2 options. So people that may have a pill fatigue or pill phobia, as long as they, they levels measure right, such as the medicine level that's detected, to determine whether you can switch to that medicine or not. I'm no scientist or nothing like that, but because I work being a case manager, we have to look at those things to see if they're adherent or what issues are they having. So within that case, if they're able to transition to the injectable, a lot of people have opted in to do the injectable because it's once a month. I don't have to have a daily reminder, yes, because sometimes that pill can be a daily reminder. Yes, I am living with HIV, and it will sometimes, depending on their level of acceptance, people that can be a constant daily reminder. Like, damn, I got HIV, which further makes them stigmatize themselves, whatever they feel, and it can just play a big part. So I think that's a big leap for people that are taking medication.
And for the medication options, so the doctor, let's say if I came in and I said, look, I want a pill, or I want and how do they make that determination that you want the pill, that you can have the pill or you can have the injectable? So with that, so what I'm saying is there like some type of health risk, or they look at certain numbers?
Yes, they make sure your viral load is low enough, and you've been consistent with your consistent across the board with taking your medication. However, whatever test they use to test the levels of the medication, to see where you're at, and I think they look at a genotype to see if your virus has mutated.
Oh, wow.
Because if it does mutate in a negative way, that means you may not be eligible.
Girl, you schooling me. I'm sitting here like, oh my God, okay.
So it's all kind of nuances to that. But if you're determined that you are a candidate for the injectable, then your provider has no problem making those changes. But that all depends on your communication with your level, because you can say one thing, but due to lack of trust sometimes between the patient and the provider, sometimes we don't always get the answer.
Right.
So it's like, do I trust what they say, or do I trust what the lab has reported? So it's an ongoing situation. So it's about knowing yourself, knowing your doctor, and knowing what you want and how to manage your own care.
Okay. So for individuals in recovery from substance use disorder, what additional challenges might they face in managing HIV?
I would say being adherent to their medicine. Because in my experience working as a case manager, they're living with HIV, but their priority right now is SUD. So I normally would focus on that part right there, and if their housing was an issue, we would focus on the housing, because sometimes not having stable shelter can be a trigger, and that may be the reason why you use. Or then we got to face the fact that are they ready to, be drug free?
Okay.
That can be a barrier. Your ability to say, hey, yes, I am ready.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to those in HIV and substance abuse, mental health can play a big part of that. Isolation can be a big part of that. If they got incarceration records on top of, living with HIV. So there's like they're double, triple stigmatized. And people that's injection drug users typically will, experience the most barriers. Even though they are, they don't have safe syringe injection sites or safe syringe, it's hard for advocates to do their job, on that level when it comes to making sure that these programs are in place to help people with substance use disorder, and if they have mental health issues, housing, food insecurities, all of that plays a part in being able to help those remain drug free. As a child of an addict, I saw this experience myself, so I can understand the plight, what it is. She didn't have HIV, but she had all these other compounding health issues on top of it, but it was just, my mom, she was just able to do what she was able to do, but she had so many other mitigating health factors that played a part. We had to move in together, shelter housing, because Social Security wasn't coming across. So those who are substance use, afflicted with substance use disorders and have limited income, they do what they have to do, but they're doing it to survive. So, but for those who are homeless, they got to make the choice. Do I want to get my medication, or where can I hide my medication if they're homeless?
So why you don't know what's really going on, right? Or you don't want to share that information, just like you said, a trust issue. Because I know our community, culturally, we don't trust no one.
No one.
And we was raised, whatever go on in this house, better stay in this house. You better not take our business out in the street.
Yep. So that's one big factor.
Yeah, that's a
keeping
big
their medication, keeping their medications secure.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. So you touched on that. What are the mental and emotional impacts of living with HIV? Girl, you hit on it. Stigma. Girl, so stigma remains a major barrier to care. What are the most effective ways to challenge and reduce stigma in our communities?
I would say things like this, what you're doing, having kind of candid conversations, trying to bring you awareness, not only to yourself, a broader understanding, but bringing it to your community that you're serving. I would say start there, but also start with your small groups of your friends, having those casual, girl, what you think about this? Girl, they got these new treatments out here? Or what is their awareness or their beliefs surrounding HIV? Because culturally, we grew up in sex is a taboo topic in households, which I've grown and seen that happens across all cultures, but because I know I've experienced it personally in my own culture and family, I'm speaking on the Black's perspective.
Right. Yes.
Speaking on the Black perspective. So, and people are, what I've seen, they tend to forget you were that age at one point. You know what your body felt at one point. So why not openly prepare your kids to make those informed decisions on not how to repeat the cycles.
Right.
Sometimes we as parents, we slip and lose our way, but, just keep reiterating that. Have those conversations with your friends and family. Organizations can break the silos, welcome those providers that serve agencies, partner with them to learn more about what it is because you're going to have clients that are SUD community that intersects with HIV, because like I say, sex and drugs go together.
Right.
Rock and roll. So we can incorporate those two entities together, because we get funded from those two entities,
right?
HRSA and TAMSA.
So why not be housed in the same
and holistically?
I like that. I am really learning something over here. No, I'm so serious. I am sitting here and I'm digesting it, and I'm just like, wow, because there's a lot that I don't know. But I know that this,
and I'm still learning.
Is important.
And I'm still learning to this day.
Right.
I'm still learning. As a woman that has been living with HIV for over, my daughter be 20 next year.
Okay.
I was diagnosed when I was 25, so almost 19 years.
Okay.
It'd be 19 years, September 14th.
Do you mind if I ask you, when you were diagnosed, just so if someone's watching and they've been diagnosed, right? Because we've been seeing a lot of younger individuals with HIV being diagnosed with HIV, 17 and older. as young as I've seen 14 years.
Yes.
Or young or older. From your experience, and I know that we done went off of the questions, but I'm being led, and it's to help somebody. That's all. When you found out that you was HIV positive, what? Like, because I know I would have been like, what? I would have.
On that day when I got that diagnosis, my twin sister went with me, and I'm like, well, all I know, she said she heard me scream, and that was it. All I remember, the doctor telling me you're positive pregnant, and walked out the door, threw the paperwork, the referral packet of information on where to go, threw it on the table, and was like, and walked out the door. My sister heard me scream, and because they wouldn't allow her to come in there, even though I gave permission, because we're not allowed to give out the test, in front of anybody unless you're given verbal consent, and you have to sign off on that. So I gave them that, and they did not want to do it, But when I found out, I was like, dang. I'm with my boyfriend. I don't know how to tell him at the time. Right. So I'm like, what do I do? So at this time, I still got to wait on confirmatory. Their testing came back, and now I'm waiting on confirmatory because the 15-minute test hadn't done. The 15-minute test hadn't came out yet. It came out a few years later. So I was like, okay. Sucked the wind out of me for a minute. I didn't know what to do. I'm pregnant. I think I'm at the beginning stages of my second trimester. And next thing I know, I got to tell him. He was like, how did the appointment go, babe? I was like, they told me I got cervical cancer, and I got to go back in a couple of weeks. I didn't know how to, it just rolled off my mouth.
Right, I understand.
It just rolled off my mouth. He was like, okay. So when I went back for the confirmatory, yes. So I was like, tell him. So that turned out to be a 3-page letter. And mind you, to keep in mind that we're staying in an environment with somebody that's blind. So you know when one sense leave, the whole other senses pick up.
Okay.
So you can't even whisper without him. What y'all talking about?
Girl. I know somebody but go here. I apologize, but go on.
So in that moment, as he's reading the letter, and he get to that part.
Let me stop you for a second. Why did you write the letter?
Because of that scenario, and I didn't know how to say it.
You didn't know, okay.
Verbally.
Okay, go ahead.
And it was just us in the house. I'm like, okay. But we had just had a conversation 3 months amongst our group of friends about if and what happened. What would you do? He was like, man, I'll blow her up. So we sitting on the couch, just like the one that's sitting over there. We both sitting like this, but by the time he got to that letter, we had spread apart. He on one end, I'm on another end. Because I was just embracing myself for that impact. His reaction based off what he said.
Okay.
But he didn't react. That's what shocked me. He didn't react the way he thought he would, given the conversation we all just had amongst friends. Because I just knew I contracted it from him.
Right.
But it wasn't him. Tricky thing is, I knew I was negative going into the relationship I had just got out of, but I didn't for sure test coming out of that relationship before getting into the next relationship.
How important, let me stop you. Ooh, because you just hit on a mark. Because, okay, wait a minute. I get my test results, right? And I'm negative. So what would you tell someone who know their results, right? That they're negative? How does that work when you know, okay, I'm going into this relationship, I'm negative. Shoot, they give you a lot to think about. Wait a minute, I'm negative, but the thing is, you wasn't detectable. Is it because that you wasn't detectable because you wasn't never diagnosed? So let me don't confuse the audience. It's just that you knew your status was negative. I know I'm negative. I'm good. We gonna do our thing.
I assumed it.
You assumed
that. That's a better word to use. I assumed that.
When you went into this new
relationship.
But before you went into that,
I was in one, but I didn't test leaving that.
You didn't test leaving that one.
I tested coming into that relationship.
The old one, but the new one you didn't test. You just assumed that I'm negative. I'm good to go
because I'm already pregnant by him. So he's the only one I was having sex with at that time. And what I learned in therapy, that's called yourself a serial monogamer.
Wait a minute. Help the audience. What is that?
And what we don't give we jump in one relationship from another and don't give yourself enough time to heal emotionally.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
So you're covering up pain by getting into another one. Like they say, the coin is it's better to lay under somebody than get over it. No. Just excuse my language. That shit don't work.
Yeah, it don't.
Excuse my language.
It don't.
It don't.
You wind up a couple of months later you by yourself because you was looking for something that ain't there.
And that's what I learned in therapy, serial monogamy, and I was like, that's right. And then when I started sharing my story and people that knew me, because they always think that you have to be promiscuous, and that touches on the question of current beliefs and things like that.
That you sleeping with all these people, or you're a prostitute. I'm out here prostituting, and that's why I have it, and that's where the stigma comes behind. Because she must have been sleeping with a bunch of people. She must have been doing this or that, or she was shooting dope
or anything. I was with that person for 2 years. Wow. I was with that person for 2 years before I broke up with him. Before getting into this new one, getting into the new relationship.
Okay.
So I was like, wow. But we got over it. He got tested. Confirmed he was negative. So that made me sure that So I was like, okay, that's why I confirmed it was him, my last partner.
So I have a question for you. Now, are you guys not to be?
No, we're not together.
You're not together. No. Now, let's say, like in your case, he found out that you were HIV positive, and he was negative. He came back negative. How they don't know that he wasn't exposed? Was he able to take that the medicine?
No, that at the time they weren't even talking about PrEP or PEP.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's right. Because you was 25.
This was in 2005.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So because that medication wasn't even thought of. It
had been in studies and trials, I would say there. Because it takes so long for when they doing studies and stuff like that, it takes so long for the FDA to be confirmed, things like that.
Okay.
So it was probably in trials before it came out. But at that time,
it wasn't on the market. Hey, we can write you a prescription and you can go ahead and take this. Right? Okay. So being as though he came back negative. Is there a protocol that you have to test every 3 months, every 6 months? Like how does
he tested? I think twice. The initial test, once I notified him and made the test for partner services to come out, and then he tested again 6 weeks later.
Okay, and he still was negative. Okay, yeah. And I know you guys aren't together, but
no.
How wouldn't I understand that? But how would they know that even though he tested 6 weeks after, right? I know he tested initially and then 6 weeks after. How do I know that it might not? Because what I've seen or what I've heard, let me say what I heard because I ain't seen nothing. What I've heard is that you have to continue to keep getting tested because it can lay dormant where they can't see it.
So that's in a rare case, and I think.
Okay, I appreciate
and for those who are watching, if someone can confirm, that more happens on the spectrum of HIV too, which happens more so in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
We have over here in the United States, we have HIV strain 1.
Girl, you know your stuff. Gone. I know that. I do the HIV 1, HIV 2, and I'm like, oh my God, y'all confusing me with this HIV 1 and HIV 2. But wow, you know your stuff.
Then there are rare cases of people, such as that subset of the population of people living with HIV, that may never have to take medication at all. Only for a short period of time. And once they've been in care for so long, the doctor can either confirm it and ask that patient, do you want to continue on medication, whether the injectable or the pill, or would you just come in twice a year to get your levels checked?
So I want to ask you another question in regards to your pregnancy. So they came in just unprofessional, no bedside manners. Okay, come on, just come in there and say, here you have HIV and you're pregnant, and then walk out. Sorry that happened, but. With you being pregnant, was there any medications given to you so you wouldn't transmit to your daughter?
Yes, the medication I was on that you asked earlier, the heart medication.
The heart medication, okay.
And that was, but that medication is so nasty. I took that for the my last 2 trimesters.
Okay.
And from there, I did a month and a half. I followed, the postnatal checkup, and all of that good stuff. And then the baby is given medicine that she has to take for, I think, 6 to 12 weeks. Okay. Liquid form that she took that I had to give 3 times a day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and it's been so long, but that happened. But somebody correct me. But yeah, the baby does take the medicine for 6 to 12, between 6 and 12 weeks.
And this is because I know everything is pretty much everything is liquidy and everything blood. Our blood pumps through them, and this is so she won't contract HIV.
So she won't what they will call seroconvert.
Convert.
So which means the blood, the HIV could not mutate in your blood cells.
Okay.
So within that happens while the medication is doing what people living with HIV does, is doing it for the babies to prevent it. So it's like the PrEP for babies. I mean,
Yeah, I got it. Wow. Okay. I'm learning over here. Thank you so much. And you know what? First, I just want to say thank you for being transparent.
No.
Like thank you for sharing your story, because we don't know how many people you're helping.
And
because a lot of people don't share their status because they think they're gonna be judged. Right. The same thing with people in recovery. They can't say, "Well, I used to snort heroin," or "I used to shoot heroin," without somebody looking at, "Oh, you don't look like it. What do I'm supposed to look like?" I'm just trying to figure out, cause you don't look like you have HIV, but they crack me up. They don't look like they got AIDS. They don't look like they have HIV. What does that supposed to look like? That's the stigma right there that we need to break.
The perception of what they think.
That drives me crazy.
And that starts through education. So doing things like this, but educational seminars, or just work, getting to know people.
Right.
Because you never know someone's story, and because, like I said, I'm sharing my story. It hasn't always been peaches and cream. I will say that.
Of course.
I've had my ups and downs, and as living with HIV, I've had bouts of mental episodes where I thought I wanted to kill myself. I even attempted once or twice, but I guess I'm still here, so I got a purpose. So now I'm on that journey of finding my purpose again.
Journey. You heard what you just now said. You on your journey. Just with 2 E's, that's all. Just with 2 E's, yes, you on your journey.
Yep, or redefining my purpose, because I knew I was different, because when I came out, I just came out straight after my diagnosis. I got myself together. I was like, hold on, something is missing. I'm aware of HIV, but where's the messaging for Black women, and to talk about the nuances of Black women impacted by HIV? Because the only thing
information is no education. Like, you don't get nothing.
So I'm like,
you see no one like us on them pamphlets
at all. And so when at the time of my pregnancy, I could think about termination, because I knew who Ryan White was, and I did not want my kid to go through the torment he went through, and he acquired HIV just through a blood transfusion. Because there were no checks and balances in the biomedical field. He acquired HIV.
Right.
And because of him and his...
Don't they have a law?
Now it's a law.
Now it's a law for him.
Now it's a law.
Because of his situation, there is a law.
Which is the Ryan White Care Act now.
Okay.
But over time, it didn't change name to the Modernization Treatment Act, but it's always Ryan White. But there are laws in place on the federal and state level that must be abided by for any agency receiving Ryan White dollars.
Oh, wow. Nice. Thank you. Girl, thank you. So, how can recovery homes, faith-based groups, and nonprofit organizations like ours help raise awareness and promote safe practices?
I would say, having communication, having little information pamphlets that truly reflect the population that that you're serving. So if you are a substance abuse recovery home, have information about the HIV and substance use, HIV and meth, HIV and whatever their drug of choice is.
Right.
Don't discriminate.
Right, I get it.
But have that information and try to correlate it with whatever behavior that's going on. One, church, I can say, be more open, leave the moral judgment behind. Because true Christians don't judge them.
Say that one more time.
Leave the judgment behind for those who are faith-based. Because you never know who you're gonna hurt in your beliefs and how to use God to shame people. That's the part that gets me.
And can I just add that everyone has skeletons in their closets, and only God knows what that skeleton is. Thank you for saying
and
that.
Try to be open, and for churches to be more open to have spaces available. So participate in the World AIDS Day for on December 1st, where we do have summer events throughout the June Pride Month. If you are a faith-based church, open it up to be more open-minded. Just bring in the education, have people come in storytelling, or just when your resource health fair. Have some of these organizations being there to pass out information because some of your congregation may be living with or impacted by HIV.
Or have someone that they know that need those resources.
You know you need those resources, and you had the opportunity to open this gate, open this door, and that may make you feel may make your congregation, whoever your member is, that may be living with it, come to you and have this discussion without fear of judgment because you're my pastor or because of what they believe God has said.
That's deep. I like that. That's deep. Now we're gonna get on policy. I can go all day about policies and advocacy. I can go all day. But question is, what role do policy and advocacy play in improving outcomes for people living with HIV and individuals with substance use disorder?
Okay. I would say policy plays a big part of how people who has access to care and who don't. Advocacy plays a part in justifying who needs those accesses and who's going to get those services. But when it comes to advocacy, you have to be willing to step in the forefront. But if you're behind a scenes person like me, send those letters, advocate for the need of services, educate your legislator, educate your city council people on the services that are coming through the health department or funded through the health department or funded through the city through any kind of block grant program. So making those services, teaching those people the impact of services, have them partner, connect with their state and local partners on the legislator level, build those relationships, and then when you can advocate from a local level with your city people that have partnerships or supposed to have partnerships with their legislators in their city local districts. I think a lot of things can be done, but when we're advocating, we have to be transparent about what it is that we need, be direct what we need, and don't be afraid, and be patient because advocacy is not fast.
It's not.
Advocacy results is not fast.
It's not.
You have to be in it for the long haul.
It's not a race. It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
It is a marathon, but policy, policy plays a big part in who has access and who does not have access.
Okay, thank you. So, what message would you give to someone afraid to get tested or recently has been diagnosed with HIV? What would you say to them?
For those who are scared to get tested, I would say, don't be. There's nothing to be afraid of. I know that result of the era of not knowing, but nowadays you don't have to wait the 14 days. That phase has been over almost a decade and a half ago. You can now get your results in 15 minutes.
Because I got
You
you
can
can go to the, like you said, the health department and you can get your test done. I know they was like, you want to get, I just was happening to go there for something. You want to get a HIV test? And I'm like, yeah, come on. No, the guy was like, only take 15 minutes. I said, 15 minutes, that's it? Okay, come on, stick my finger, let's do this.
And then they got it out to where you can do take-home HIV tests. So you don't even have to be in the presence of a clinic. Where you can order your kit.
I didn't know that, so thank you for telling me that.
You can get your take-home HIV test kit, or have it delivered from the city health department, and they will send it to your home, confidential, regular packaging, and you can take the test and give you instructions on who to contact, if and when, but how to also administer the test and help to call.
And I'm not trying to compare, but COVID, they got that like COVID. They got the home, because I got some home tests for COVID.
Yeah, so
every time I start sneezing, I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling, I got to test.
Right.
You get tested.
So now they have HIV take-home kits. So that goes to show the advancement in how they want people to be aware
of their
status, whether it's negative or positive, because everybody's HIV possible.
Okay.
And that's the language,
Yeah, right. Everyone's HIV because I don't know your status. You don't know my status, and don't look at, oh, you so cute.
Right,
you
because things happen. Right, things happen. And then when it comes to the kids, there are a lot of kids, parents that have had to missed opportunities, I will say, and their child acquired HIV during birth.
Okay.
Those kids are now growing up.
Okay.
So we have to look at those kind of conversations and have their parents told them, or what are their education levels? How are they feeling? Because now they're coming up in this population. So if we're talking about removing stigma and including language or changing policy and advocacy, we have to have these youth, or what we call dandelions now. Now that's what they're called. That's what the youth that are living with born with HIV. They coined that term. They coined that term themselves.
You
and
serious?
This is what strong advocacy.
Say it again so everyone can hear.
Dandelions. Those are
dandelions.
Youth ages birth to the age of 24 that were born with HIV.
Okay.
And they're called dandelions. This is something, and this is what strong advocacy looks like.
Okay.
They was like, hey, y'all not gonna be creating all these policies without us, and not involving us. So at the United States Conference on HIV, which is held every year in September, it's either in DC, and then the off years they have it somewhere else, stateside or within the U.S. territories. And while they was at that conference, they acted up, acted out, and they have their own working group. They have their things published. They're on Facebook. You know
what that sounds like to me? Grassroots.
And it was grassroots. That's grassroots advocacy all day.
Organizing. That's
and
grassroots.
It took one of the leadership, the older women in the working group, the Black women living with HIV work group, to take it upon themselves to lead them. Not me. I wasn't included. I give them all the credit for that. But this is what strong advocacy look like, because they said you're not going to continue having these studies using us as guinea pigs, and
we don't have a voice.
And we don't have a voice.
I like that. Wow. You have extended yourself. You made yourself vulnerable for the audience. I just want to say thank you.
No problem.
First and foremost, thank you. I tilt my hat off to you. Thank you for sharing your story. And we didn't even talk about your story. I just said I know that you was an HIV specialist.
Right.
I want to have you come on so you can educate the community. Let them know, the stigma behind it. You can give them more education on what's going on. We didn't even get into that, but like I said, I was glad to do it. So
and it just happened.
I hope that it was natural, right?
It was natural.
Just having a conversation. So I appreciate your time with us. Family, I just want to say we want to thank Chunnika for being here with us, for sharing her story, for educating us. What we're going to do in the comment section, we're going to have all the resources outlined, places that you can go, your local
local HIV, the local health department, and other resources that are for those living with HIV, whether you're straight, LGBTQIA, older, senior. So we got resources for you all.
Yep, sounds good. And then also I'm gonna put Chunnika's contact information just in case if you want to give her a call and say, look, I need help. Where do I go if this is not enough information, if the information that's listed in the comment section isn't enough and you need more information. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of the conversation.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
No, you're good. So again, family, thank you. And until next time, be blessed, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.